Call the meeting to order. Hold 2 through 6. Oh, roll call. We don't need roll call. Okay. Go to public comment for agenda items. Yes. So Cecilia Driscoll for hirings. Just remind you the 3 minutes, please.
Thank you for your time this evening. I appreciate it. I was just here to speak tonight. We have
Very well.
a position for our superintendent on this board, but I was watching out of place with seeing no room on a permanent search for a permanent replacement. Have we been able to do that, or what is?
Thank you. That's much better. So my concern is just where are we at in that process? Are we actively searching for a replacement? Is there a time frame on that to know what's happening? I'm sure that everybody would like to think we've started that search, or is there going to be a movement from where we are now into a permanent position, but at least to know that we're looking and trying to fill that position so we don't have any surprises come November. Thank you.
Thank you. That's all we have for agenda item. Moving to athletics. Mr. Ensign.
Thank you, Mr. Panzella. Request approval of the following supplemental contract for the 2023-2024 school year contingent upon receipt of a signed contract no later than 1 month after issuance, including the posting of the position, if the contingency is not met, for an assistant girls basketball coach. No questions or objections, like that placed on the agenda.
Hearing none, it will be placed on the agenda.
Request approval of the following volunteer coach positions for girls varsity basketball coach. No questions or objections, I'd like to have that placed on the agenda.
Hearing none, that will be placed on the agenda.
Request approval to award bids for winter sports supplies and equipment and to the lowest responsible bidder, meeting specifications as proposed. No questions or objections, I'd like to have it placed on the agenda.
Hearing none, that will be placed on the agenda.
And request approval of the certified athletic trainer MOU for the period of July 1st, 2023 to June 30th, 2027 as proposed. No questions or objections, I'd like to have it placed on the agenda.
Hearing none, that will be placed on the agenda.
Anything to add, Mr. Martucci?
No, sir.
Mrs. Sangster?
Nothing, thank you.
Mr. Evans?
Nothing, thank you.
That's all I have, Mr. Panzella.
Thank you, Mr. Ensign. Moving to buildings and grounds, Mr. Lee.
Thank you, Mr. Panzella. Facilities utilization, I'd like to request approval of the following event and building usage requests. I'd like to spread 1 through 23. If there's no questions or objections, like those placed on the agenda.
Hearing none, that will be placed on the agenda.
Mr. Kokenar, do you have anything to add?
Nothing, thank you.
Mr. Martucci?
No, sir.
That's all we have.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank
Lee.
you.
Thank you. Moving to Carnegie Free Library, Mr. Mongel.
We have nothing on the agenda for this one, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mongel. Moving to Collinsville Area Career and Technical Center, Mr. Kopenhauer.
Thank you, Mr. Panzella. 11A, request approval of the 2023-2024 CACTC Occupational Advisory Council members. No questions or objections, I'd like that placed on the agenda.
Hearing none, that will be placed on the agenda.
13B, interim, request approval to permit former student Gabrielle Rosa to serve as an intermittent unpaid intern for the 2023-2024 school year under direct supervision of Mr. Ronald Barry, instructor in the Protective Service Program from noon to 2 p.m. daily. The purpose of the internship is to fulfill requirements for her Fairmont State University Advanced Emergency Medical Technician certification. All clearances and required documentation will be provided prior to the start. No questions or objections, I'd like that placed on the agenda.
Hearing none, that will be placed on the agenda.
Request approval for Dr. Jeff McWilliams, principal, to attend the integrated learning School to Career Connections Conference, Penn State Conference Center, State College, PA, November 8th through November 10th, 2023, at an approximate cost of $700 for registration, lodging, and travel, to be paid by Perkins Fund in accordance with the district travel policy. No questions or objections. I'd like that placed on the agenda.
Hearing none, that will be placed on the agenda.
11D, request permission for Tina Dahl, Skills USA Advisor, to take approximately 20 students to the Skills USA Leadership Conference at Seven Springs from Wednesday, November 8th through Friday, November 10th, 2023. Student expenses and transportation expenses will be paid through the CTC Skills USA student account. There is no cost to the district. No questions or objections. I'd like that placed on the agenda.
Hearing none, that will be placed on the agenda.
11E, a draft of the 2023-2026 Columbus Area Career and Technical Center Comprehensive Plan, Induction Plan, Chapter 49 of the Professional Development Plan, Act 48, will be presented for a 28-day review. A copy of the plan will be available on the school district website, and printed copies will be available for review, and the building revisions will be made during the 28-day review. And a final copy will be presented for the school board approval at an October 2023 regular school board meeting. No questions or objections. I'd like that placed on the agenda.
Hearing none, that will be placed on the agenda.
That's all I have, Mr. Panzella. Mr. Lake?
Nothing, thank you.
Mrs. Langston?
Nothing, thank you.
That's all we have, Mr. Panzella. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kochnower. Moving to curriculum, Mr. Harshman.
Thank you, Mr. Panzella. Item 12A, travel, in accordance with policy number 431. Request approval of the following professional employees' travel: Greg Martre, Sarah Hoke, Beth Engel, senior high school counselors, and Rick Grover, CTC counselor, are requesting to attend the school's counselor workshop, Penn State Fayette, October 6, 2023, at no cost to the district. Item 2, Jace McLean, middle school gifted teacher, is requesting to attend the Catalyst Connection Video Competition Training, Johnstown Area Regional Industries, Johnstown. September 28, 2023, at an approximate cost of $178.34 for one substitute. Item 3, Jennifer McCombie, Erica Morton, Candy Firestone are requesting to attend the Intermediate Unit 1 Open Science Ed October 30th through November 3rd, 2023, at an approximate cost of $4,900 for substitutes, registration, and mileage, to be paid for by the Title II Part A funds. And no questions or objections. I'd like those placed on the agenda.
Hearing none, that will be placed on the agenda.
That's all I have, Mr. Renzi.
Nothing, thank you.
Mr. Mongell.
Nothing, thank you.
Dr. Coons.
I have nothing, thank you.
We have nothing more. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Harshman. Moving to Simon Martre.
Thank you, Mr. Panzella. The other thing we have this evening is a handbook for informational purposes only. It was passed out. I'd like to have that put on the agenda. If there's no questions or objections.
Hearing none, that will be placed on the agenda.
That's all we have. Mr. Kochnower, anything additional?
Nothing, thank
Mr. Mongiel. Mr. Ghost.
Nothing, thank you.
That's all we have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Martre. Moving to federal programs, Mr. Mongeau.
Thank you. One item on the agenda, request the approval of the following professional employees' travel. Jenny Becker, senior high school teacher, is requesting to attend the Math Coach Network, Allegheny Intermediate Unit 3, October 6th, December the 8th, 2023, February the 9th, April the 12th, 2024, at an approximate cost of $322.80 for coverage for 2 periods for 4 days, to be paid from Title II Part A funds. With no objections, I'd like that placed on the agenda.
Hearing none, that will be placed on the agenda.
Mr. Martucci, do you have anything to add?
No, sir.
Mr. Martre? Dr. Coons?
I have nothing, thank you.
That's all we have, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Montiel. Moving to finance, Mr. Renzi.
Thank you, Ms. Manzello. Request approval of the following donations to the Bible Club from the Central Fellows of Church for $150 and one anonymous gift for $40. No questions or objections, I'd like to have placed on the agenda.
Hearing none, that will be placed on the agenda.
Request approval of the attached requisites and orders and to authorize district business office to process orders and payments. No questions or objections, I'd like to have it placed on the agenda.
Hearing none, that will be placed on the agenda.
Request approval of the purchase of the Central Susquehanna Intermediate Unit Financial Information System software at an approximate cost of $63,870 for the implementation and setup for the 2023-2024 school year to be paid from the ARP ESSER funds and the ongoing approximate cost of $58,645 paid from the general fund. No questions or objections, I'd like to have it placed on the agenda.
Hearing none, that will be placed on the agenda.
Request approval for Jennifer Helms and Sheree Robinson to attend the Pennsylvania Association of School Business Officials Annual Conference at Hershey, PA, March 5th through March 8th, 2024, at an approximate cost of $2,500 for registration, lodging, meals, and travel to be paid from the Fiscal Services Travel budget. No questions or objections, I'd like to have it placed on the agenda.
Hearing none, that will be placed on the agenda.
And request approval to confirm and approve the LERTA application of 235 North First Street Associates LLC for parcel number 05-06-0516, 235 North First Street, Connellsville, PA 15425, as submitted to the City of Connellsville and the County of Fayette in accordance with the district's July 28, 2021 Board Approval LERTA Resolution. No questions or objections, I'd like to have placed on the agenda.
Hearing none, that will be placed on the agenda.
Anything to add, Mr. Lake?
Nothing, thank you.
Okay, Mr. Harrison.
Nothing, thank you.
And Mrs. Robinson.
Nothing, thank you.
That's all I have, Mr. Panzella.
Thank you, Mr. Renzi. Moving to food service, Mrs. Sangston.
Thank you, Mr. Panzella. Request approval to hire as a 4-hour cafeteria employee effective September 28, 2023. No questions or objections, I'd like that on the agenda.
Hearing none, that will be placed on the agenda.
Request a conditional approval contingent upon successful submission of screening and background checks of the following additions to the cafeteria substitute list for the 23-24 school year. No questions or objections, I'd like that on the agenda.
Hearing none, that will be placed on the agenda.
We have a change in some hours for the senior high school, 4-hour position to a 5-hour, another 4-hour position to a 5-hour, and a 5-hour to a 6-hour. No questions or objections, I would like that on the agenda.
Hearing none, that will be placed on the agenda.
That's all I have. Mr. Kochnow. Mr. Marchbank.
Nothing, thank you.
Mr. Triplom.
Yes, I'd like to add also, we did have a $4,000 increase in our DoD fresh fruit and vegetable program. That increased our total to $19,000 for the 2023-24 school year. And we also did have an addition, $3,000 scholarship from Pittsburgh Regional Food Service Directors to cover the SNAPA conference in July. That's all.
Thank you. That's all I have, Mr. Panzella. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mrs. Sangston. Moving to personnel and review and liaison, Mr. Lake.
Thank you, Mr. Panzella. Request a conditional approval contingent upon successful submission and screening of the background checks of the following additions to the support personnel substitute list for the 2023-2024 school year. No questions or objections, like that placed on the agenda.
Hearing none, that will be placed on the agenda.
Request the conditional approval contingent upon successful submission of screening and background checks of the following additions to the professional substitute list for the 2023-2024 school year. No questions or objections, like that placed on the agenda.
Hearing none, that will be placed on the agenda.
And the following family and medical leave acts, leaves are confirmed by the board with no questions or objections, like that placed on the agenda.
Hearing none, that will be placed on the agenda.
Request approval of the following long-term substitutes for the 2023-2024 school year. No questions or objections, like that placed on the agenda.
Hearing none, that will be placed on the agenda.
Request approval for an aide to be taken unpaid leave of absence beginning October the 1st, 2023 until November the 13th, 2023. No questions or objections, like that placed on the agenda.
Hearing none, that'll be placed on the agenda.
Request approval for an aide to take an unpaid leave of absence beginning September the 26th, 2023 for the remainder of the 2023-2024 school year. No questions or objections, like that placed on the agenda.
Hearing none, that'll be placed on the agenda.
Request approval for release time for ESP Region Officer at Large with the cost to be pay reimbursed by the PSEA as follows. Full day September the 8th, 22nd, 2023, October 13th, 2023, November the 30th, 2023, December the 1st, 2023, February the 23rd, 2024, May the 16th and 17th, 2024, and June the 8th, 2024. And a half day on November the 29th, 2023, May the 15th, 2024. No questions or objections, like that placed on the agenda.
Hearing none, that'll be placed on the agenda.
Request approval to hire as a junior JROTC 11-month instruction contingent with effective upon approval of the Army JROTC Cadet Command. No questions or objections, like that placed on the agenda.
Hearing none, that'll be placed on the agenda.
Request approval of the memorandum of understanding between the Collinsville Area School District and the Collinsville Area Education Association regarding disbursement of pay for long-term substitute teachers as proposed. No questions or objections, like that placed on the agenda.
Hearing none, that'll be placed on the agenda.
And request approval of the memorandum of understanding between the Collinsville Area School District and the Collinsville Area Education Association regarding duplicate and redundant credits as proposed. No questions or objections, like that placed on the agenda.
Hearing none, that'll be placed on the agenda.
Also, would like to put on the Act 93 agreement with all adjustments to be made by Wednesday. And no questions or objections, like that put on the agenda.
Hearing none, that'll be placed on the agenda.
That's all I have. Mr. Renzi, do you have anything there? Mr. Harshman.
Nothing, thank you.
Mrs. Coconut. Mr. Evans.
We do have one clarification, I believe. Go ahead, Mr.
Besides the Act 93, we also want to add the B2 employees to that motion, Mr. Lee. I just want to add the
I'm
B2.
sorry, yeah. You're right, Mr. Renzi.
Okay.
Do we just add that on, Mr. Witt, or do we have to make another motion?
You can, so from that committee, Personnel Committee, you as chairman can add as item 17L. It would be consideration for motion to request approval of a memorandum between the Collinsville Area School District and the Collinsville Area School District Me2 administrators as presented.
Yeah, just what you said. And I know.
Hearing no objections, that'll be added.
Yeah, with no questions or objections, like that.
That's all I have.
That's all I have. Thank you, Mr. Manzelli.
Thank you, Mr. Lake. Moving to policy and legislative, Mr. Martre.
Thank you, Mr. Panzel. These are policy revisions for first reading. If any board member would like to have a copy of those, please see Mrs. McWilliams and she'll get you one. Request for the following policy revisions and additions. 204, attendance. 800, records management. 800, AR-0, that's a new one. 006, meetings. 216.1, discipline records. 251, student experiencing homelessness, foster care, and other educational instability. 101, mission statement. 822, automated external defibrillator. And that's all we have. No questions or objections. I'd like to have those placed on the agenda.
Hearing none, they'll be placed on the agenda.
Okay, and our committee meeting was September 12th at 9 a.m. Any questions, Mr. Montiel? Anything additional?
No.
Mr. Harshman, anything additional?
No, nothing, thank you.
Mr. Evans?
Nothing else, thank you.
Okay, that's all we have.
Thank you, Mr. Martre. Moving to safety and security, Mr. Martucci.
Thank you, Mr. Panzella. Request a conditional approval contingent upon successful submission of screening and background checks. The following additions of the security substitute list for the 2023-2024 school year. And with no questions or objections, I'd like to place on Wednesday's agenda.
Hearing none, it'll be placed on the agenda.
And that's all I have. Mr. Renzi. Mr. Kugener?
Thank you.
Mr. Porlock? That's all, Mr. Panzel, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Martucci. Sticking with you with special education, please.
Thanks again. Request approval of the agreement between Penn Hodden Center for Autism and the Collinsville Area School District at an annual tuition cost of $50,526.25 per student, subject to the Collinsville Area School District's standard terms and conditions for the purchase of goods and services. There is no increase from 22-23 year, and with no questions or objections, I'd like to place on Wednesday's agenda.
Hearing none, that will be placed on the agenda.
That's all I have. Mr. Lee?
Nothing, thank you.
Mrs. Sangster?
Nothing, thank you.
That's all, Mr. Panzel, thank you.
Thank you once again, Mr. Martucci. Moving to student services, Ms. Sangston.
Thank you. Request approval of the following travel. I would like to combine 1 through 20. There's no objections or questions. I'd like that added to the agenda.
Hearing none, that will be placed on the agenda.
Request for up to 5 staff in the Collinsville Area School District to attend the 23 PAPS, Pennsylvania Positive Behavior Support Network, and MTSS, which is the multi-tiered system of supports, implemental form, building community from science to practice, November 1st through November 3rd, at the Hersey Lodge and Convention Center, with all costs paid through the Patents Comprehensive Supports Grant. No questions or objections, I would like that on the agenda.
Hearing none, that will be placed on the agenda.
Request approval of the following supplemental contract for the 23-24 school year, contingent upon receipt of a signed contract no later than 1 month after its issuance, including posting if the contingency is not met. It's for CTC Activities Fund Director. Any questions or objections? I would like that on the agenda.
Hearing none, that will be placed on the agenda.
And I have 21D added. Request approval of 8 members of the Collinsville High School Play Target Team and sponsor Ken Brooks to travel to the PA Capitol on October 7th, 23 to be recognized by Senator Pat Stefano and Representative Ryan Warner, and to the U.S. Capitol on October 19th, 23 to be recognized by the U.S. Congressman Guy Rushman-Collar at no cost to the district. Any questions or objections? I would like that on the agenda.
Hearing none, that will be placed on the agenda.
That's all I have.
Just one thing, that additional motion, Mrs. Sangston, that is not in a motion in itself. That's just one of the added items to your 21A.
Okay.
That list of 1 through 20, that will just become number
Be 1 through 21.
Yep.
Okay, thank you. All right. Sorry about that. That's all I have. Mr. Harshman.
Nothing, thank you.
Mr. Montiel.
Nothing, thank you.
That's all we have. Mr. D'Amico's not here. That's all we have. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Sangston. Moving to technology, Mr. Harshman.
Thank you, Mr. Panzella. Item 22A, E-rate consultant. Request approval to authorize Van Stream Consulting LLC to represent the Collinsville Area School District in matters related to the Federal Universal Service Discount Program, known as E-rate, as outlined in the attached proposal. This authorization covers all matters related to funding year 2024, 2025 through funding year 2028, 2029. Cost of these services related to Category 1, broadband and internet access service, is $3,500. Cost of these services are related to Category 2, internal connections and basic. Maintenance of internal connections is $3,000 plus 2% of the committed amount. No questions or objections, I'd like those placed on the agenda.
Hearing none, that will be placed on the agenda.
Item 22B and C, I'd like to refer those back to committee for discussion. Item 22D, donation. Request approval to donate 50 UAB AC Pro to Champion Christian School in accordance with District Policy 706.1. No questions or objections, I'd like that placed on the agenda.
Hearing none, will be placed on the agenda.
That's all I have. Mr. Martucci?
No, sir.
Mr. Martret?
Nothing, thank you.
Mr. Ghost?
Nothing else, thank you.
Thank you. That's all we have.
Thank you, Ms. Mercer. Moving to transportation, Mr. Kokonack.
Thank you, Mr. Panzella. 23A, request approval to renew the contract between Kimberly Hawkins and the Collinsville Area School District for transportation service for the 2023-2024 school year. No questions or objections, I'd like that placed on the agenda.
Hearing none, will be placed on the agenda.
23B, request approval of the following updates, addition to the bus van driver list for the 2023-2024 school year. No questions or objections, I'd like that placed on the agenda.
Hearing none, will be placed on the agenda.
That's all I have, Mr. Panzella. Mr. Lake?
Nothing, thank you.
Mr. Renzi?
Nothing.
Mr. Evans?
Nothing else, thanks.
That's all I have, Mr. Panzella. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Kokonack. Nothing under President's report. We have no public comment for non-agenda items. Assistance to superintendent.
I have nothing, thank you.
Nothing tonight, thank you.
Motion to adjourn. Also, we'll be moving back to executive session for 5 minutes.